Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we'll be doing a pretty special video on who could potentially replace Ancelotti if he does get the sack. Now before I go into the candidates and deep dive, first up, this is a video idea that I have. So look, personally I would love it and I wouldn't mind Ancelotti staying. You look at, and we'll talk more about Ancelotti staying as well later on. But just so people know that this is a video, I don't mean to be saying and trying to bring out there that I want Ancelotti to be sacked. I'm not saying that. I'm just thinking if we do sack him, which I'm not gonna say I want it to happen or I don't want it to happen, because you have to look at the successes and the failures that we've been having and we've seen so far. And people can debate all they want whether they like Ancelotti or don't like Ancelotti as a coach, as a manager, and whether they want him to stay. But we can't deny what he has done for the game, what he has done for the big teams. Chelsea fans will agree, Milan fans will agree, Bayern Munich fans might agree, Real Madrid fans will certainly agree for sure. So look, nothing but love for Ancelotti for sure. In terms of a coach, a manager, he is one of the greatest of all time. He's up there, and I will put it out there. I will give my respect. I'm just thinking more of a what if that happens. So don't take it off context, people. Don't be commenting and having the opinion that I want Ancelotti to be sacked or I don't like Ancelotti. That is not what I mean. All I'm saying is if we do decide to change it, who could we change it with? Anyways, let's start things off. Number one, the candidate number one is of course Ancelotti. He's currently the coach, he's currently the manager. And it'll be very unfair to say let's sack him. So look, I think you gotta put him at number one because I think he's supposed to be in the pole position to stay. Because first of all, the season has ended. There is still a chance of the Champions League. There is still a chance of the Copa del Rey, even though we are currently 1-0 down and we have to go to the Spotify camp now to play Barcelona. Of course, these games will be after the international break. Of course, yeah. So we don't know what's gonna happen, and supposedly those two competitions might determine his fate. Not sure about that. But either ways, I think I will put him in the first spot because he's the current coach, he's current manager, and like I said earlier on, I don't have intentions to, sack him it's not my call, but I don't have anything against Ancelotti. It's not I don't like him, So look, I'll put Ancelotti as number one. And one more thing I will say is, look at this season. I'm sure a lot of people will say it's a failure because we lost on the Super Copa. Yes, we did win a Club World Cup, and we've essentially lost the Liga. But if you think that winning the Club World Cup in a season for Real Madrid is a success, I'm sorry, but you don't know what the expectations, you don't know what the pressure is. A Club World Cup won't resolve anything, I don't think. So for me, it's a poor season, but again, like I said, you gotta be looking at in depth than just the outside, right? And if you look in depth and if you look at what's going on behind the scenes, things that we don't know, it's easy because it's easy for the club to deflect and find Ancelotti as an excuse, saying what, Ancelotti hasn't been playing in the way that would get us to win. But have you backed Ancelotti for him to be able to play the way that he should and that he wants to? Now that's a different question no one's talking about, because has he been backed? Benzema is still the number one striker when we should be getting a backup for him. He's 35 now. Rodrigo is the backup when he's not a right winger. You got Mariano Diaz to the club. I mean, who decided to bring Mariano Diaz to the club and giving him so much in his wages, his contract so long? I'm glad he's gone after this season. He's literally the most useless player I've ever seen. He probably comes on like once every 10 matches for like 5 minutes and does nothing. Like literally, I don't know what the point of that signing was. That's poor recruitment, by the way. You know, yes, we've invested in these young Brazilian talents that have won us a Champions League, Vini Jr., Rodrigo, and even just young talents in general like Tchouaméni, Camavinga. I am supportive of that. I'm sure Real Madrid fans are supportive of that. But, you know, throughout the last few years, we've seen legends like Ronaldo leave, Casemiro leave, Sergio Ramos leave, Rafa Varane leave, Marcelo leave, Gareth Bale leaving, right? And, you know, Gareth Bale, I wouldn't say he's an iconic legend of the club, but he was still a crucial role, a crucial player to this team. You let these huge players who are part of the Champions League three-peat team go. You let these players who are part of the team that won 4 Champions Leagues in 5 years go, right? What do you expect Ancelotti to do when you haven't replaced these players? Hazard was meant to be the Ronaldo replacement. What happened? He's flopped, and you know, I'm not gonna blame Hazard. I'm not gonna blame the club because, you know, I was part of the people who said give him another season to prove himself. This is the end of him. I think he's gotta go this summer, and you can't blame Ancelotti for any of that. That's poor. You know, okay, that's not anybody's fault to blame. I'll be honest, but ever since then, they are apparently scared to bring in players again, and I'm thinking to myself, look, every single club in the world, and especially the big clubs in Europe, have made poor signings before. So if you're telling me because you made a poor signing in Hazard, because you made a poor signing in signing a youngster to come play as your backup striker Benzema in Luka Jovic, because you made those poor signings, you're gonna stop making recruitments and signings when you need to? That is just BS, by the way. And back to the point, you know, you haven't probably replaced the players that left. You haven't brought in new faces. You know, Benzema is the number 1 striker. Mariano is the backup. Hazard, you know, again, like I said, you can't blame him, but Hazard is the backup left winger to Vini Jr. You got a midfield that you want to invest a lot on, but you look at the midfield, you got Tchouaméni and Camavinga in the club. You know, just try to renew Tchouaméni, try to renew Cruz for another season, and the next season we try to look for Bellingham if he hasn't moved, or we try to look for Gabriel Veiga or someone else who could be the next big thing. You don't have to splash 150 million on Bellingham, considering you've already invested in the midfield in the last few seasons. You've already, you know, your attack and your defense need more work. I mean, look at the fullbacks. Mendy, you know, underrated player. For me, you know, saved us against Manchester City last year. But is he it? Is he it? I don't think he's it. Carvajal, you know, still at this point, our main right back, Lucas Vazquez, who was a right winger, converted into a right back because we didn't have a backup right back under Zinedine Zidane. You're telling me that Vazquez was used under Zidane 3 seasons ago is still our backup right back? What has happened there? Nacho is the backup left back, by the way. So look, there are problems with the board, with the recruitment, with the transfers, and I'm not having any of this. Because we used to not be able to, you know, we used to make these huge signings that haven't been able to perform well and give us back what we, you know, splash on them. We're not going to do anything in the future. That's BS, and that's not the way to go. And that is partially on the board. But if you're talking about performances on the pitch, of course the players have to get the blame. Of course Ancelotti has to get the blame. But ultimately, it's a bit of everything, and ultimately, if there's one person getting all the blame and getting the sack, it's Ancelotti. And I feel for him if he does get the sack because he hasn't been backed. So I'll put him at this first spot. I feel like I've already ranted quite a bit as well. So yeah, first spot for me, Ancelotti. But if we were to move on from Ancelotti, who could we move on? or shall we say, go backwards. So how have we went from the Mourinho days to the Ancelotti days to the Zidane days, and then you had a bit of patch with Solari and Lopetegui, and then back to the Zidane days, and then back to the Ancelotti days, and then now you're considering going back to the Zinedine Zidane days. I mean, look, adore him as a player. No, I'm not gonna be one of those people that say I've watched him play, because I simply didn't. And I have told people a lot of times that my first ever football memory and the first game I watched was the 2018 final. The whole game, I was sat there, I was watching that game, and he was managed by Zidane. So, I gotta say, I've watched Zidane as a coach. I haven't watched him as a player, so I can't be telling you, look, Zidane played incredibly well, you know, he's done this, he's done that. I'm not gonna be sat here saying Zidane has done well, even though we know he's done well, based on what we've seen in terms of highlights and, you know, overall. But as a manager, as a coach, I've seen what he's capable of, and I've seen him do it. And look, he's an incredible manager. But this just reminds me of a relationship. You know, as a guy myself, and if you are a guy, you know, there's this beautiful looking girl. You really, really like her. And then you say, look, I really like him. You know, how about we date? You date, it goes pretty well for a few months. You know, throughout the relationship, it's been really, really good. But, you know, obviously, in a relationship, there might be a bit of misunderstanding and arguments. And then it ended in a poor way, and you break up. And then you try to move on, it didn't work out. And then you think to yourself, the first relationship I have with this beautiful girl worked out the best. And then you go back to her and you go, you know, we actually worked out quite well. You know, it was only towards the end. Just give me a second chance. And then she's like, okay, I'll give a second chance. And then again, you know, it didn't work out that much. Again, you have a little bit of your ups, but mainly towards the end it's down again. So break up again, and then you try to move on again. You achieve a bit of success, but then you achieve failure again. Are you gonna go back to that person again? And that's Zidane. That is literally Zinedine Zidane. You know, Zidane came in 2016. You know, and before that he was obviously assistant, right? Since the day he was the actual, you know, manager. 3 Champions Leagues in a row. 2016, 17, 18. Right? Obviously, incredible. Technically, it was part of that 2014 Champions League winning side as well. If you don't, okay, you know what? He was assistant, I believe, back then. So let's say 16, 17, 18. That's 3 Champions Leagues back to back to back. The three-peat, as they would call it. And then, you know, it didn't quite work out after Ronaldo left, and you're like, okay. He left, I'm pretty sure he went to Juve, and then you call him back again, and he chose to come back, and okay, we won a Liga title, but second season we didn't win anything at all, and then he's gone, and now you're looking to bring him back again. I just think it doesn't work out at all for all parties. It doesn't work out for Real Madrid to go back to Zidane, because we know what he's about, and he's already done so much that going back wouldn't just be boring, wouldn't just be, you know, boring, but it's like you sort of, this team sort of needs a new person who hasn't been with this club before, and we'll talk more about that later on. Almost like new blood, essentially. And Zidane has been here as a player, has been as a manager. It's time to move on. And again, I go back to those points. What caused Zidane to leave on both occasions? Okay, maybe the first time round was he didn't felt like it anymore, and he wanted a change. But the second time when he came back afterwards, it was clear there was issues behind the scenes that we didn't know about. It was clear that apparently Zidane felt like he didn't get backed and the blame was all on him. So why would Zidane come back again? It doesn't make sense. It's not good. And I think that this is just the least interesting and arguably the worst possible appointment we could make. Not because he's a bad manager, not because he's a bad coach, because of what has happened to cause him to leave on both occasions, and most importantly the second time round. So for me, this is a no, and I think we should stay away from it. I think we should really stay away from the Zidane saga, and I don't think Florentino Perez will go back to Zidane again, because clearly there have been a fallout since the last time. So let's move on to our next candidate, which is a very interesting one. Another ex-player, just like Zinedine Zidane. We will have another ex-player after this. Pretty obvious, isn't it? But current manager of Real Madrid Castilla, Raul Gonzalez, obviously one of the top goal scorers of the club's history. Real Madrid legend. And I would love this appointment. If Raul was the next Real Madrid manager, I would be all for it. Because just like what we said with Zidane, we need someone fresh, we need someone new that hasn't managed this club before. And Raul has played for this club. He knows what this club is about in terms of winning. And I'm sure that he will know what this club is about and what it takes and what is needed to win. But one problem I have with him and the next manager coming up is what sort of level is he currently on with Real Madrid Castilla? Because I personally don't watch Castilla too much, right, if I'm being very honest. But what sort of level are the team playing at, and what sort of level is he as a manager and a coach? And secondly, if he is on a very high level and all your smart people out there and people who watch Castilla all the time and their details and detailed into such stuff tell you that, oh my god, he's playing really really well, the team is playing really really well, they're playing this way, they're winning this way, and they're gonna win this, they win that. Will he be able to do it with Real Madrid main team? Now that is a question we won't be able to answer until eventually, if he does take over. So now it's to a point where, do you take the risk by appointing Raul to see if it works? And of course, if you do, you can give him a season to try, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If it does work out, great, it'll be like Zidane again. But for me, I feel like this is an appointment which I'll be happy with. But I'm slightly worried in terms of where Raul is as a coach and whether he'll be able to live up to the expectations and the pressure. But overall, I'm happy with this, and same goes to the next manager, which is none other than Bayer Leverkusen's current head coach, Xabi Alonso. Again, former player, legendary. I mean, I really liked watching Alonso. Again, I'm not gonna say I watched him, throughout his career, but if you go back to watch him, him and Khedira and Ozil, those were the days, man. Those were the days. But I don't really see any difference with him and Raul. Again, I would be very, very hyped about this ex-player. Hasn't managed a club before, knows what this club is all about. But again, same thing. Where is he as a coach, as a manager? But I would assume he's on a lower level compared to Raul, because Raul's obviously been managing Real Madrid Castilla for a little bit longer. Alonso's been at Leverkusen for a few months, I think. But within these few months that he's been there, I've heard and I've seen that he's taken them from the brink of relegation to what now, mid-table, or trying to challenge for Europe even maybe, which is huge, which is a very, very huge improvement. Obviously, I watch Bayer Leverkusen more than I watch Real Madrid Castilla, if I'm being honest. So I know more about Xabi Alonso as a manager, as a head coach. But in terms of everything, I think it's pretty similar. Can they handle the pressure? Can they handle the expectations from the media, from the club, from the board, from the fans? That is something that we will know until and if we see them do it. And if we do, fair enough. Again, I wouldn't mind giving Alonso the job and say, look, we'll give you a free year. We'll give you a year to see if you can do it. And if you can't, fair enough, we'll move on. But, you know, I would really like to see Alonso and Raul happen. But again, if the club want to try and win straight away, it obviously isn't a good appointment. But one thing I would say is, I reckon that Raul and Alonso would almost win the hearts of Real Madrid fans, at least the loyal ones, right? Because it's a smart move here. Because if you get rid of Ancelotti, the fans might not be on board with that. But if you bring in someone like Raul or Alonso in, the fans might actually go, it's something different. It's an ex-Real Madrid player. We're all for it. So this could be a big smart move from Real Madrid here to try and go with one of these two. I think it could be a very smart move. And again, I'm all for it. But again, expectations are there. Pressure is there. And yeah, let's see. Moving on, we have 2 more left. Next up, Mauricio Pochettino. I know a lot of people don't really like the idea of this, but I'll talk to you about why it could be a good idea. First up, obviously ex-Espanyol player, I believe. Ex-Espanyol coach. Okay, what does that tell you? Barcelona are the rivals of Espanyol, and so are Real Madrid. So look, of course, you would be quite nice. And I do like having something like that, where the manager is a former legend of our rivals, if that makes sense. And that would be something that I'm, again, on board with. Why not? If you're bringing in an Espanyol, a former Espanyol manager, a coach, a player, or whatever, in, when your rivals are Barcelona, it could be good, right? And then you look at the way Spurs played in 2019 to get to the final, and people would say it's lucky, and people wouldn't give him the credit. But again, credit must be given where credit is due. I think he played some part in that, of course. Of course, since then, he's gone to PSG. It hasn't quite worked out there, which is one worry for me straight away. He clearly isn't able to handle those egos. Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, he can't handle them. And if you're Real Madrid and you want to bring in Erling Haaland, Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe, some of these top players, and you got Mauricio Pochettino as the head coach, can he play a system where he can fit all in? And if he can't, those players will be going against him. So it's going to create a bad atmosphere in the club. So for me, that's a big no. Secondly, we haven't seen this guy win anything realistically as a manager, as a coach. You know, obviously he was at Spurs for a long time. Before that was at Southampton, wasn't he? And then now PSG. You know, we haven't seen him win anything. So we can't really be sure to go, he's the guy I want. And I think that's what most people's concerns are. What backs up Pochettino's CV? If you are going to apply for a job, and you got Zidane there, and you got Ancelotti there, and you got the next manager there, or you got the younger, more unexperienced guy, and you got Pochettino, who is fairly experienced, managed at the top level before, but he doesn't have any trophies to show for it. I'm not too sure if he's gonna get it, you know. I'm not too sure if the fans will be on board in terms of a footballing perspective. And I could see, and I can understand why most fans don't want this move. But again, like I said earlier on, I want this move because of the Espanyol Barcelona connection and thing. That's just me. If that's just me, that's just me. But the last one is going to be my favorite option to take over Ancelotti if he does, and that is none other than, you've probably guessed it by now. Yes, it's Thomas Tuchel. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably know that I've been going on about this guy for a very long time. And if you watch my video about a month ago, should Real Madrid get Tuchel in the future, something like that, I did say that he is the perfect candidate to replace. All those things we talked about with Pochettino is backed up by Tuchel here. Now, of course, like I said, as the Espanyol thing is huge, and it's something that I like, and maybe Tuchel doesn't have it, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. It does not matter as long as we achieve success. He's a proven winner. He's done it at Chelsea, where they were going through their lows under Frank Lampard. He came in, won the Champions League, and then I, in my opinion, think he was wrongfully sacked. I know it's new owners and stuff, but he's wrongfully sacked. And we're playing his former team under the new manager, Graham Potter, in about a month's time. Exciting, but we'll talk more about that later and in the next couple of videos, of course. Let's not get too carried away. Obviously, like I said, it's won a Champions League with Chelsea when they were not at their best level. When he was at PSG, again, you could say the same thing with Pochettino and Tuchel, that they weren't able to stop the big egos. And when he was there, obviously Messi wasn't there, but it was Neymar and Mbappe. But I actually thought PSG, when Tuchel was there, was actually playing quite well. I mean, he brought them to the Champions League final. They were so close to winning it. So close. Of course, Bayern, different animal in the Champions League. So we can't really argue with that. But one thing I would say is he's won it. He's experienced it in the top league, in the Premier League, in the Liga, and he's won it in those two leagues. And okay, he hasn't won a Premier League. He hasn't won, Champions League with PSG, but he's won a Champions League with Chelsea, which is a good record itself. He's changed Chelsea. He brought PSG to the Champions League final in 2020 or 2019, whichever one. And I just think that this will be different. Look at the club. Rudiger used to be a Tuchel player. German, ex-Chelsea, will go in perfectly, right? And okay, let's not bring in players, because if you're talking about players itself, I think most people will go with Zidane, because most of these players have played under Zidane before, right? But in terms of moving on, getting something new in, getting a proven winner, getting a player who will demand a lot more from this side and from the players, Tuchel is the perfect choice. And if you want to get rid of Ancelotti, you got to be putting Tuchel as your first choice. So if you ask me about all of these options, Frank, out of Tuchel, Pochettino, Raul, Xabi Alonso, Zidane, these five, and I'm not going to include Jose Mourinho, because that story is even before Ancelotti. It's even before Zidane. It's not happening. Ancelotti, it's probably the latest we're going to go. We're not going back to Mourinho, and that is that, right? But out of these five, right? Tuchel, Pochettino, Raul, Xabi Alonso, Zidane, I'll rank my top five from best to worst. For me, the best, it's gotta be Thomas Tuchel. He's the most attractive option, proven winner, and you gotta go for it. Number two, you gotta pick one or the other. I would probably pick Raul as number two. Something different, knows the club well, but I'll give him the upper hand against Alonso, probably because he's managed Real Madrid Castilla, and he might want to bring in some players from the youth team. Again, that might be a good thing, that might be a bad thing, who knows. And then I'll put Xabi Alonso third, because again, same reasons. But I like what I'm seeing from Bayer Leverkusen this season. Four, I will put Pochettino. I think, again, I can understand why people don't like that option, why people don't like that look and everything, but for me, the Espanyol thing really attracts me a lot. I think having an ex-Espanyol player slash manager, and people would say it doesn't matter too much. Yes, but for me at least, I think it's kind of cool. And for me, Zidane is just a no. Just don't go back with your ex. Thank you very much. And then we have the access Ancelotti, and I will say one thing about this: if the club wants him to stay, he stays. That's what it is. But like I said at the start of the video, and like I said throughout the video, this video isn't meant to be pushing Ancelotti out. This video isn't trying to encourage Ancelotti out. This is just what if with an not exclamation mark, with a quotation mark, and maybe, and we'll see what we could do if we get rid of him. This isn't when. This is if. So let me know your ranking from these 5 managers slash coaches. Be very intrigued to know. But that will be it for today's video. Hope you guys have enjoyed today's video, slightly longer one hopefully. Hit the subscribe button if you did enjoy today's video. Subscribe to the channel if it's on already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.